Hello folks, it's Apocalypse6, back with another 4-color loam video. So I'm keeping this hand largely on the strength of Chalice, or I'm not keeping this hand, which is better. Now we have a turn 1 Abrupt Decay at night, and I guess I'm keeping this based on the strength of night. I'm keeping this land on top, mostly because the night's like fairly important to this game plan. This hand is probably worse than average, which means that there's a decent reason to mulligan. However, I don't really want to go to 5 in the blind. So I do this thing that I really don't like doing, and I play out both my mana sources. The reason I do this is so that if my opponent plays a 1-drop, I'm able to decay it and then play night the next turn. But it just feels really bad knowing that I'm sort of, I'm losing sort of the element of surprise with Mox Diamond, and I'm potentially not using any of my mana here. And of course I don't want to Abrupt Decay this Chalice, because I have basically no 1-drops in the deck. So I play out a Knight, and I'm putting my opponent on Eldrazi, which of course means that a 4/4 Knight is very hard to beat. They're basically looking for Dismember, and in a turn or two, it's going to grow past all the Eldrazi creatures, and then they're going to be on Endbringer or nothing. Here my opponent plays a Grim Monolith. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's big Eldrazi, in which case I'm on the Wasteland plan. And then the opponent plays this this Rod, and I guess, okay, they're on Old School Mud. There's not a ton of difference between the latter two decks for me. I guess Old School Mud it might be just a weaker version of the big Eldrazi deck. So, I'm heavily incentivized to Wasteland, so the play here is, Abrupt Decay the Rod, because it might do something, and otherwise there's not infinite targets for Decay, so it might just sort of rock my hand. Beforehand, I want to cycle just to see if there's a better play there. I draw the cycle in, which I'm thinking about, should I play it, should I not? I decide against it, mostly just so I can cycle it into something a little bit more playable. Maybe even a dual land of any sort, any sort of forest or plains is better here because it's another Wasteland. So I waste my opponent and pass the turn. It's a little bit of a sign of weakness when you have to Vesuva your own land, or when you have to play a Vesuva. In general, it's usually not the land you want to be playing on turn 2. So I'm thinking next turn I have 2 draws to get to a forest or plains to continue wastelanding, and this is fairly nice as well because this creature dies to sort of everything, including Abrupt Decay. And I naturally draw a Wasteland, which is even better than having to use Night to get the Wasteland. So now I spend my turn undoing all their progress and then attack. And they're left with this 2-mana land that goes away if they play anything else. So their prospects are really bad, and they scoop. So here I'm thinking, okay, I obviously don't want Chalice, right, because they're in the Chalice deck. I also probably don't want Teeg. There might be some like Spine of Ishsaw or like Ugin sort of cards, but ideally I don't want to give him enough mana. This is largely a game about mana bases. So I bring in Thalia to tax their mana. I bring in Reclamation Sage to blow up mana rocks. I'm taking out Punishing Fire and maybe some Abrupt Decays because I'm not taking out Punishing Fire because I remember that Metalworker is very important to their plan. So I want some of them around for that. I'm considering bringing in Toxic Deluge. It deals with the larger threats. Obviously not for the 1 mana that we want with swords, that's ideal. But the first might be better than the third. Um, and here I for 2 seconds I think maybe I'll take out Loam, but since it is a wasteland fight, Loam is super important in that. It just creates a lock. And here, this hand is a Mox Diamond, so it's good enough to keep. It's a turn 1 Bob. And our opponent starts out really weakly with the city, which means I can't play turn 1 Bob, and now I'm debating. I play out this Mox Diamond. I'm not entirely sure that was correct, because I'm actually not able to do anything with it this turn. If I would have just kept it in my hand and played a fetch land pass, and then the next turn played a fetch land, I would be in the same spot. The only difference is if I want to cast, say, Punishing Fire, and I draw a land next turn. So in that sense, it's potentially better. But the opponent might have a Revoker here, and it's not strictly better. And my opponent has a shot at 3 mana before losing their land. And let's see what they play with it. They play a Metalworker. So ideally, if I draw a land, I can Punishing Fire. That's exactly what happens here. And I also draw Wasteland, which means next turn, if nothing else good happens, I can play Bob and use the Wasteland, which is great. My opponent's thinking, but there's really no way around it. He has to play out every land he can into this Wasteland. I mean, I guess you could play your weakest land, but I would say Cloud Post is pretty close to your weakest land. My opponent's turning off Mox Diamonds. I imagine that card was not in his opening hand. I would personally just take them out, but if you don't have anything to bring in, I guess it's fine. So I take out his Cloud Post, establish Bob as I had predicted, because the alternative here is, I mean, I guess I can break his Thorn, but I don't want to decay his Thorn because the Thorn is working against him here. And I draw Thalia Wasteland, which my opponent can basically never break out of. I cast the Thalia, then I Wasteland him to 0 lands. So, at 3 mana, my opponent will be able to play out like a Voltaic if he's playing that. It'll take 4 mana for the opponent to actually start playing cards that are in his deck. Because of Thorn and Thalia. Unless, of course, there's a creature. So, Ancient Tomb, Revoker is something that they could do. But basically nothing at 2 and 3 mana really bothers me. For one, I have this Abrupt Decay, but also, it's the 6 and 7 mana threats in this deck that win the games. So I played a Deathrite Shaman. There's nothing super powerful for me to do this turn, and I don't really know what I want to get with this land, with the Zenith. It's also double taxed, so it's kind of dead. And here I draw this Loam, and that's basically a hard lock. It takes me 4 mana to do it, but it gets me back 2 Wastelands, which means my opponent has to have 2 more lands to start playing the game. And at that point, I'd probably just kill him with two ones. Right, and my opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes.